Well, the game of football has taught me so many things, man. Now, think about the huddle we have right now, right? I tell people this all the time. There's a reason why they call it a huddle. People have been huddling all their lives, trying to find ways to enhance each other's lives. The great teams do that all the time. The great teams do that. The better the huddle, the better the team. And so it's simple, man, how if you huddle for all the right reasons, we wouldn't have Ferguson. We wouldn't have some of the challenges that we have in our society. But as we all know, there's always a moment when somebody doesn't belong in the huddle. And yet we have to continue to move on. We got to continue to play. So the game of life, man, is always starting with the huddle. And for me, I'm lucky enough to know that, by the graces of God, man, it's been a nice huddle. It's been a nice huddle. And if I just keep making sure that he's in front of me, I'm gonna be all right.
Welcome to FootballGameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, bring you our 2017 NFC wildcard playoff preview between the Detroit Lions and the Seattle Seahawks. And we're going to start this video off by taking a look at some keys to victory for both teams in this matchup. Let's start with the Lions in this ball game. I believe it's going to be important for their defensive line to impose their will up front early on in this contest. That's stopping the run, being gap sound, also collapsing the pocket around Russell Wilson. Things that they didn't do last game against Green Bay, they're going to have to amplify that against Seattle. Offensively, I think it's about not forcing the deep ball, trying to make that splash big play. The big plays will come in time in this ball game, but if you're Matt Stafford and in the offense, you can't force the big play. Hit your short, intermediate routes, hit your check downs, run the ball, then the big plays will happen eventually, and that's when they can cash in. And finally, defensive safety play is going to have to be important. I think they have the opportunity to wreak havoc in this ball game. I'm a big fan of Glover Quinn and what he brings to the table, and if those safeties can play mind games back and forth with Russell Wilson and that offense, I think they have a great chance of shutting down what the Seahawks want to do in the passing game. Moving over to the Seahawks in this ball game, they have to find a tailback that they're going to start and roll with and feed him. I think the Seahawks can have some success running the football inside versus the Detroit Lions defense. I think this is where they're going to have to win the game, establish that early, and then their play action game could have success. But they have to find the back and stick with him and allow him to get in the groove running the football. And on the perimeter, it's about continuing to win above the rim. I think this is one of the more underrated aspects of this receiving core of Seattle. Despite these guys not being all 6'3", 6'4", they're able to consistently win above the rim, which is why those big plays happen for them downfield. And they have to communicate a lot better defensively. When the Seahawks are communicating within each and every level of their defense, they're very tough to move the football against. But too often this season, we've seen one element of their defense not be able to communicate with the other, and therefore you have blown assignments, missed coverages, things of that nature, and that causes big plays to happen. If they can communicate and get 11 guys all on the same page, this defense will be very tough again to move the ball against. The Detroit Lions had issues last week trying to keep Aaron Rodgers contained in a pocket. They kept allowing him to get outside the back door or not be able to get a lot of pressure on him to where he had a lot of time back there in the pocket to hit big plays downfield. This game, they're facing one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in Russell Wilson. I'm going to show you how they can play the spread using cover one, tight man coverage, but also being creative in how they apply pressure. Show you what we're talking about here. This time around, they're going to have to be able to get pressure on a mobile quarterback while also playing contain. Dual responsibilities for these guys, but this is where, as an NFL team, you have to trust your personnel. So we're going to ask Detroit to trust their personnel on the outside, playing man on the outside. The reason why I like this particular nickel look is because you have 3 defensive backs covering wide receivers. 4 if you want to count the strong safety. And you see where he's aligned on the line of scrimmage. He's going to get a good jam and bump and try to throw off the timing with the tight end. So he's locked in man on man with the tight end, which opens up a way for this defensive end to get a great jump off the edge, contain pressure. You're going to have this defensive end push up here, contain pressure. Now what you're going to do with these two backers, let's just say you want to work here, and let's say you want to work this guy here. So what you want to do, or even have him decide which way he wants to go. The easy way to get rid of the football if you're Russell Wilson, okay, they're sending guys off the edge. We're going to leak the back out in the flat to either side, or we're going to ask him to stay in and block. And here's the key. You have two pseudo spies. They're going to play this tailback inside out. So if he goes this way, it's his responsibility to get out there and cover that tailback. If he goes the opposite way, it's this guy's job. If he stays in and block, both guys have green lights to go and rush Russell Wilson. One of these guys will be freed up to go and rush, which is great because now he's going to have to get rid of the football to one of these guys that is playing inside position. So they're funneling these receivers outside to where the sideline is their help, and they have one deep safety to help out, let's say the nickel guy, or if this guy gets beat across his face, he's helping out over here. But this is one way they can get pressure while playing contain, while also utilizing their personnel or trusting their personnel to match up one-on-one versus these Seahawks wide receivers. Because if we saw last week them have problems versus Aaron Rodgers, they're facing the same type of quarterback this time around in Russell Wilson. So it's going to be important for the Lions to find ways to get pressure and also play contain on the quarterback. I think this game between Seattle and Detroit will be determined by which team can make the most big plays. And if you're Seattle, you can generate a big play because of your personnel off of play action. Show you what we're talking about here. Pistol set. We're going to line Jimmy Graham out wide, and you know he's going to draw a lot of attention. And what you want is the free safety to be peeking over here. Hey, that's Jimmy Graham. We have a corner over there. That's the mismatch. I kind of want to cheat over here to help out my corner. Strong safety over here as well. But what if you're Seattle, what you're really wanting to do is hit this backside post. That's going to be the big play coming off of play action. So what we're going to do weak side or front side over here, going to run simple out in concept. Free safety is going to be overly aggressive trying to help out that corner against a big 6'8" tight end. He's going to fly in, and if you're Russell Wilson, you're reading that free safety after you come off of play action and set up. Got a blocker here, block, pass protection there, faking the run. So you got protection up here with 6 guys, 6-man protection, backside post. As soon as this guy flies over there to help out on Jimmy Graham, Russell Wilson will find a way to hit this post, and we've seen him hit this play many times for Seattle. But again, this is where your run game helps you out in the passing game. They can run the football now. They're going to try to get creative with Jimmy Graham, use him as a decoy in a certain situation, try to hit the backside post, which I think could end up being a huge play, a touchdown in this playoff matchup.
The biggest X factor in this game for the Detroit Lions is defensive coordinator Terrell Austin and what he can do from a schematic standpoint. He's a hot head coaching candidate right now, and rightfully so. He's a tremendous coach, and he does get his guys ready to play each and every weekend. In this ball game, they're going to have to find a way to disrupt what Russell Wilson does back there in the pocket and also not allow him to pick up those cheap first downs running the football. If they can come up with a great game plan for Russell Wilson after the season, Terrell Austin may be a head coach in the NFL. And for the Seahawks in this ball game, the biggest X factor I think will be Russell Wilson's play in the situation that's third down offense, backed up offense, red zone situations, end of game and 4-minute offense. So if he can excel in those situations where he's been up and down this season, partly due to injury, I think the Seahawks have a great chance of moving on to the next round. I like Seattle in this ball game defensively. I think they'll get it together, be able to force a couple of 3-and-outs early on against this Detroit Lions football team, and they'll build the lead with their ground game, play action, passing game, and that'll force Detroit to abandon the run and become one-dimensional. I think that's where the Seahawks will thrive and ultimately move on to the divisional round.